All right, welcome back to the co-sponsor podcast. Today, I'm really excited to have Janie Coffey here. Janie was a senior director of sales at Compass that led to over 900 team leads at Compass, an executive vice president with the top three in the world Sotheby's offices. She owned her own boutique brokerage in Coral Gables, Florida. She's currently a top 250 team at eXp Realty and a top 250 mega team leader according to Real Trends in the state of Florida. So she has a training and coaching program, and I'm really excited to get into this conversation today. And I don't know if there's anything I missed, but feel free to fill it in if I did. But that is an extremely impressive resume. And I think today our guests are going to get a lot of valuable information. So thank you so much for being here.
Super, super. And I'm the co-chair of the luxury division at eXp, which is probably one of my favorite accomplishments so far, what we've created with this division.
Yeah, that's amazing. So obviously, um, there's a lot of things there, and I noticed like a lot of
Yeah.
founding member positions. So like, how do you have this vision, or like, how are you identifying these opportunities, and then you're obviously implementing these? Because like when I hear um, co-founder of eXp Luxury, uh, senior director of sales at Compass, like you were a founding member there as well. So how do you see these opportunities? And then like what's your vision and how do you know it's going to work?
That's a great question that nobody's asked me before, but I think it is very, very important. I personally think a lot of agents or people who choose to get an agent have a strong entrepreneurial background, right? We're
Mhm.
not doing this versus a 9 to 5 job because we're entrepreneurs, which often means we're also very creative. I also think because I am diagnosed as an adult with ADHD, and I've noticed that a lot of agents, leaders, thought leaders in our industry also have identified with that. And I think it's one of our gifts in that we're always just looking, we're always creating, we're always seeing opportunities that might exist. Part of the challenge is, honing in on which ones are the right ones and letting the other ones sit on the sidelines for a little bit. But that's what I've always done. My whole life, I've always looked for opportunities. I've always looked for creative outlets. If I succeed at something, then I'm bored and I don't stick on that path. I take the next branch to where is that going to go? As opposed to other people who love excellence in one path. They've been at the same thing for 20, 30 years. They're absolutely excellent. I'm always like, once I achieve something, I'm like, great, wonderful. What's the next thing? And there's normally three things kind of going on at the same time. Some of them don't work out, some of them do. And I've just been very lucky and blessed, I think, most of my career.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's super exciting. So where were you right before you came to EXP? Because you've been at EXP now for about 4.5 years, right?
Yeah, yep, yep. I was at Compass. I had been with Sotheby's for 8 years by then. Moved to Compass right kind of when they were starting, was the team that actually opened up Northeast Florida for Compass. And at that same time, like you said, helped create the team leader group within Compass. And I had been there for 3 years. This was during the pandemic. And honestly, just a lot of things started to not align with me that didn't feel good with me about how some decisions were being made. And I started to look around at my next step. I didn't know what that would look like. I didn't know if that would go back to owning a brokerage again. I was just kind of opening and I was waiting. Compass was about to go public, so I had a little bit of time because I was waiting for that IPO. And my coaches at the time, my real estate coaches who coached team leaders, Stacy Peterson and Lars Hedenberg, who had been coaching me for about 2 years at that time, made an announcement that they were going, like as a small group announcement on a Saturday, very hush hush, that they were going to EXP. And I was like, holy cow. And the funny thing is, in 2009, 2010, when I still owned my brokerage in Florida, um, somebody, it wasn't Glenn Sanford, but it was somebody approached me with this idea of this cloud-based brokerage. And I had 3 meetings with them. They showed me eXp World. And this was 2009, 2010. And I was like, seems like an interesting idea. It seems like a good opportunity, but that's really weird. And nobody is going to not go into the office because think back to 2009, 2010. Nobody is going to work in this Sims game type environment. And I literally forgot about it from 2009, 2010, all the way until we had this meeting, which was the end of 2020. Um, when Stacy and Lars told me that this is what they were doing, I knew I was going to be leaving Compass for the reasons I mentioned. And I was like, you know what? They're the two smartest people I know in real estate. And if they say that this makes sense, I'm on board. So I actually got an extended LOI because we were waiting for Compass to go public and moved over summer of 2021
Oh, nice.
and not
So
regretted it at all. I'll be honest with you. The change from Sotheby's to Compass for me, because I was true blue Sotheby's like crazy, still love the brand. I still think it's a great brand. But that change allowed me to understand that I can go from a legacy heritage brand like Sotheby's that I loved to a brokerage that nobody knew at the time, which was Compass. And my business didn't really suffer. It didn't get turned over. I didn't die, which was my big fear. So when I decided to go to eXp from Compass, I already had kind of dealt with those concerns. So I have never once regretted it. I'm thrilled to be here. I'm thrilled with the people I get to work with. I'm thrilled with the different kind of culture we have here versus legacy brokerages in a lot of different ways. So yeah,
what was the biggest thing, like the transition? Because EXP Luxury wasn't even going in 2021, really. So,
it wasn't going at all. It was horrible. Were you around at that time?
yeah, I've been here since 2020.
Yeah, okay, so we had the most ugly logo on planet Earth.
Yep.
It was blue and orange. It looked like a child made a puzzle piece, and I apologize, Glenn, and everybody else who was part of that logo, but it was horrible. Um, Nothing. There were some people in workplace at the time who had tried to create a luxury division, but it never really got off the ground. Before I even came in, I met with Dave Kennord, who was the president at the time, shared my background, shared my vision, had a big vision statement, like a 5-page vision statement about what the luxury division could look like. Little did I know there was 3 or 4 other people doing similar. You know, some of us were talking to Jason Guessing, some of us were talking to, um, I think Courtney, who was in charge of marketing at the time. We all were coming at it at different angles. So by, I think it was 2022, they pulled us together, the 5 of us, and they said, okay, you all have backgrounds in large scale team leadership. Many of you have owned a franchise or a brokerage, so you understand it from a franchise brokerage side too. You are in luxury sales. You're different parts of the country, so we're going to pull you guys together. You come from different brokerage backgrounds, so we're going to pull you guys together to help at a corporate level create this division. And it was a hard 1 or 2 years. I'm not going to lie. Like we really created an entire brokerage within a brokerage, everything from scratch, the branding, the colors, the fonts, the aesthetic, the design, the tools, the training. And we pulled in, there's a lot of corporate people at eXp who are from Sotheby's, who are from Compass in corporate level positions in branding, marketing, events, PR. We pulled all of them in. So we had all of that kind of luxury knowledge, decades of luxury knowledge, and pulled it in and worked really, really hard. And I would say the division that we've created is probably one of my most proud accomplishments, besides, of course, having my daughter.
Why is it like your most proud entity that you've created
Yeah,
or
no,
been a
that's a
part
good
of?
question too. Yeah, that's actually a great question. Um, we created what I truly, in my heart of hearts, and again, I was a diehard, sorry, let me turn that beeping off. Um, diehard Sotheby's person for so long. We created what I feel is like a lighter, brighter version that's kind of has a vibe of Sotheby's, but a very forward facing, very future casting vision of luxury. It's very today world forward looking rather than really kind of steeped in heritage to the point where it feels a little dated. Um, The aesthetics are absolutely stunning and gorgeous. The training that we provide is top tier, and I have not been at either of those brokerages now in 3 or 4 years, but I know the training that was at those brokerages versus the training that we have, hands down, bar none. The reach that we have for people who have listings to get their listings out. And then, of course, we have now the sister division, the land and ranch division. It's just we offer everything, and the value of what we offer compared to what somebody would pay if they were at a heritage or a legacy brand, where they're at a company with a split that doesn't have a cap, or even if they did have a cap. I'm just so proud of what we've created. Like, it blows me away all the time.
Was there ever like any hesitation, like where you're like, oh, I'm gonna move to eXp, this isn't a luxury brokerage? And if so, like how'd you get over that?
Yeah, no, I think anybody who was an existing luxury agent has that hesitation, right? Because you're right, it's not known for luxury, although we do a lot of luxury. Like, our agents at eXp do a lot of luxury. The the issue is a lot of people don't realize that, because eXp is so agent focused, that we're like, hey, brand yourself as long as it's legally compliant with the state you're in. Brand yourself. So there's a lot of agents across the country at eXp doing luxury at a very high level, but a lot of people don't know that because they've just done a great job branding themselves. Like, I'm the Gorgeous Florida Homes Network. I think the majority of my sellers might not even understand that I'm with eXp, even though it's all in my branding. That being said, I did think that, but because of my transition already from Sotheby's to Compass, when I realized, oh, my sellers really didn't care. And it's fine to say that now because everybody knows who Compass was, but nobody knew who Compass was when I made that switch. This was in 2018. My sellers didn't care. The responses I got, I'm mostly a listing agent. The responses I got and the marketing I was able to do for my listings didn't matter. I was still able to do the same amount of marketing. And so when I decided to go from Compass to eXp, I didn't have that fear anymore. But I do talk to a lot of agents, both through sponsorship and through co-sponsorship and just three-way calls I have for people, where a lot of agents are concerned about that. And I found that agents who have their own brand, who are secure in their brand, really realize it's them. It is their brand, what they've built, the relationships they've built, and how they leverage all the tools that we have. Agents who are sometimes earlier on in their luxury career, they're the ones who sometimes struggle the most, because that's almost like the mama's apron strings to have that brand. But the ones who have come over from that category always have the same experience, like, oh my gosh, this is so great, I had no idea. But we've had a couple years of having to overcome the ugly orange and blue puzzle piece logo, but I think we're there now. Anybody who looks at any eXp luxury branding or materials out there or listings really sees, oh wow. And we've had a flood of people joining us now from Sotheby's, Compass, Berkshire Hathaway, and especially the Anywhere brands, with this new announcement of the Compass acquisition of the Anywhere brands.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Because Sotheby's is an anywhere brand, and you've been at Compass, so you've been like basically in the whole other side of the spectrum.
Yep.
So like, what I guess like what I want to know, and what the audience probably wants to know too, is like, is there any real key like differences in like, or is it, the brand is what matters, the agent's what matters, and then the brokerage is supporting the training? I'm just like, what role does the brokerage play into your business? And like, where do you see the value lying inside of that? Because like luxury is a different piece of the puzzle, right? Like
Yep.
there's a lot to do with branding there.
Yep.
So the consumer probably, if they're at Anywhere or Compass watching this, they're just like, we're the best. We have the best branding. We have the relationships. Of course, you talk to the Corcoran agent, it's the same thing. So spill the tea.
Yeah. So, like I said, I break down prospective agents who are looking at eXp for luxury into four categories. You have the one category of a luxury agent, and they're at like an indie brokerage somewhere, or they might be the only one at their brokerage selling luxury. it is an easy thing for them to look at eXp luxury because they realize for the split, the fees, all the things what we offer in comparison to what they have access to, that is an easy no-brainer. Then we have agents who are at like the mainstream larger brokerages that are not necessarily considered luxury heritage brokerages. But maybe they're in a luxury division there at those brokerages. It's normally a fairly easy division for them to look at too, eXp luxury. It normally makes more financial sense. We often have more beautiful branding, aesthetics, assets than where they are right now. When you move into the heritage legacy brokerages, the Corcorans, the Sothebys, the eXp, Douglas Elliman, you've got 2 or 3 categories of agents even within that umbrella. You have the diehards that are never going to leave that brand because that brand is part of their identity. It's not just the brokerage that they're with, it's part of their identity. Just like you have people, they only drive a certain model car, or they have to have a certain watch, or they have to have a certain bag or something, even though it's more expensive than something of equal value. That's part of their identity, and they're going to stay there, and that's okay. They're happy there, it works for them. Then you have the very seasoned agents who are often getting to the point they're frustrated with the control the management has over them because these brokerages have a high level of control over their agents, both what they can charge, as far as commissions, how they can do business, how they can market themselves. And so a lot of times seasoned agents, seasoned team leaders, sorry, my dog's
I know that
breaking.
I'm laughing because that's the bucket I was in, season frustration.
Yeah, no, I have the good majority of the agents who are in my organization personally are very seasoned Sotheby's Compass agents. And almost every one of them very seasoned, and they came because they were so frustrated with management. Management was trying to control splits. If they needed to give some of their commission to make a deal work, management was cracking down on them or not even allowing it. These are, Sotheby's, for one, is franchise, so there's growth problems. And even when you start to bump up into a fellow franchised area, you can't grow into other parts of your state like you can when you're in a big singly owned brokerage.
Yep.
And they just got tired, especially some of the other legacy brands. There's a lot of pressure to produce and sell from management because they have very expensive offices, they have very expensive staff. The only way those brokerages make money is on the sales of their agents. So they're really pressuring them to sell and they're getting frustrated. So that's an easy group. The one group that sometimes doesn't feel comfortable with a move from a legacy luxury brokerage to eXp is often newer at luxury or at these brokerages, and they feel it's very important for them. The reality is it is not. It's more about us and what we do, but they're not quite there yet. So there's a whole range of these different kind of avatars, and we are a great um, solution and opportunity for a large number of them. And then there's a few it's just not a good fit, and that's okay too. That's okay too. I always say there's the right brokerage for every agent and the right agent for every brokerage. So.
Yep. Regarding where you're at in those buckets, and let's like just remove the newer agent out of the equation.
Mhm.
Um, do you think if they're succeeding at any of those other brokerages and they moved into eXp luxury, number one, they would obviously probably be successful because they are the brand typically. But what would be the most beneficial things for those agents if they made that move?
I mean, there's 3 most beneficial things. Let's just start with the finances. If they're at any of these brokerages, even if they're at the top tier of the split, let's say that's a 90-10 or even a 95-10, which is fairly unheard of. But let's say they're still paying that January 1 and December 31st. In addition, if they're at a Sotheby's or an Anywhere franchise model, the franchise version, they're paying a royalty on top of that that they normally forget about. And that's normally 5 to 7% on top of the split with their brokerage. So even the excuse me, top tier agent at these brokerages is paying somewhere between 10, 12%
Hmm.
on every deal. And that sounds low when you realize until you realize that the only time they're going to have a split like that is they're selling hundreds of thousands of dollars GCI per year. And so the money alone that they save when they come to eXp, and they're all almost going to be icon agents on top of that, the money alone that they can now put into their own business, into savings, into investments, but into themselves versus paying for the brokerage, right? Which is one of the things I realized. My split alone that was going to my company at my previous brokerage was paying the rent for 3 of the offices for a year. I know agents who have come over easily, they often save 6 figures. I have a couple agents I know that their split that they're paying to their brokerage is up to two, three, four, $500,000 a year between them and sometimes their team members. That's paying for these fancy offices. That's paying for tiers and tiers and tiers of management that they may not use at all. You can take the money that you save, put it into your own business, hire full-time whatevers that you need. So that's one thing. The second thing is most of these legacy brokerages, in fact, probably all of them, have strong, strong, strong branding controls. You need to stay on brand. That's the favorite term, on brand. So they can't really start to develop as much as some of them would like their own brand, their own look, their own vibe, their own flavor. So that they like as well. And then, of course, the third thing is the controls. As long as it's legal, as long as it's ethical, and you're in that, you can run your business however you want. eXp sees you as a grown-up adult entrepreneur, and however you want to set up your commission with your agents within our, the way we have things set up as far as agreements, you can give whatever things. You can just run your business the way you want to run it. Nobody's pressuring you to sell. That's because you're an entrepreneur, it's your business. And so those are the 3 main things, just the huge amount of money savings to put back into your business rather than the brokerages, the openness of branding in general, and then the control of your business versus somebody else telling you how to run your business.
What tools inside of the EXP luxury platform do you find to be the most exciting that really helps us sell more real estate, but also get more clients?
I think the easiest and fastest tool is we have really robust listing distribution, which a lot of the other brokerages do too. But we have something called a presentation creator, where if I know I'm going on a listing presentation, as long as I get a picture of that listing, I can drive by and take it. I can go to Google Earth and pull it down. I can do whatever I want. As long as I can get that in there, I just have to put the address and that picture, and boom, out comes the most amazing kind of marketing plan customized to that house. So it shows you this is how your house is going to look when I put it in the Wall Street Journal. This is how your house is going to look like when I put it on Raw Report. I don't say my brokerage does that. I say this is what we do. This is what I do. My team does. It takes longer to print it than it does to create it. Then once you've listed it, instead of having to put it in a whole separate platform or dashboard like I had to do when I was at Sotheby's, um, I just make that MLS number active, and boom, it goes out to all those listing distribution partners. And about 7 to 10 days later, I get back a complete media kit with live links to all the listing sites where it is, the Wall Street Journal, Barron's, James Edition, et cetera, in a beautiful PDF showing them, okay, here's all the things I've done, plus the single listing website. And then on a weekly basis, it sends me a report of how many views we've gotten. So it really makes it easy to go on listing presentations and look like a superstar, easy to get your listing out to high-end distribution partners to get in front of the right eyeballs, and then easy to show your seller all the things you're doing to market it. So you're continue to show them, hey, I didn't just list this and walk away. Excuse me. We're getting eyes on it. We're getting the exposure and things like that. And then there's a whole suite of other things, but that is kind of like the core. And we have that for the land and ranch too, with different listing distribution partners that are aligned with where you would want to get your farms, equestrian estates, ranches, timberlands, whatever kind of land, large scale land and ranch farms. We have that too in the farm and ranch division, and it's just incredible.
I agree with you 100%. My favorite tool is the luxury listing presentation creator. I've been begging for it in residential. If we can create it with all these divisions, I'm like hoping that we can get it for the just residential because
Yeah.
um and I do think if an agent's listening to this that's like hasn't joined Land and Ranch or luxury and you get one of those listings, just investing the one-time cost for the year is worth its weight in gold. I have used that even with like maybe houses don't qualify, but I show the clients like this is what your house will look like when we put your single your property on advertisement campaigns. This is what your property will look like on a single page property website, et cetera, et cetera. And they get so excited to see that on like the websites, the YouTube channel, all the
Yeah.
things.
And you can still use that for non-luxury properties. A few of the sites have cutoffs, like Mansion Global will
Mhm.
only put it on Mansion Global if it's over $1 million. But you can still do that for your regular priced properties, and I do because we're allowed to have 10 at any given time. So if I have a really nice listing that maybe under luxury price point, it's still going to go out. It just won't go to certain sites if there's only a few that have a dollar cutoff.
Yeah.
And they deserve that too, as long as you have the spots. And you can pay a little bit more, by the way. You can pay a little bit more if you've exceeded your 10 concurrent listings. You can pay, I think it's $200 and still get the same distribution.
Yep. So what obviously you have a top 250 team here at eXp Realty. So
Mhm.
how has it been running your team on the luxury platform?
Yeah, so it's great. I love it because if you have a standard team, or I guess if you have a mega team, team members who join can join for a discounted rate. So I have about 25 people in my team, the Gorgeous Florida Homes Network, which is throughout the state of Florida.
Hmm,
Because I'm a primary member of the luxury division, any of my team members who either qualify or take the certification class can also join the luxury division for $9.95, I think it is, per year. They only get 5 concurrent listings, but most people, 5 concurrent listings at any given time is enough for their luxury listing distribution. It's helped me grow my team. It's helped us be a luxury team because a lot of seasoned agents at eXp have ended up joining the Gorgeous Florida Homes Network because they're seasoned, they're doing well, but they didn't want to be out there by themselves, like just selling by themselves. They don't want to be a team leader. They don't want to be on a rainmaker type team. But they love our branding, they love our training, they love our camaraderie. So it's really helped grow. And that's one reason we are a top 250 team is we're mostly seasoned agents.
gotcha. Well, that's exciting. What do you think is something agents think matter but actually doesn't?
In luxury specifically or real estate?
Both.
Hmm.
And I'll tell you, you gave us those four category buckets, so I'm like, I know it's like hard to pick which one,
Yeah.
but I think like
I think most people, and again, I was the most truest, bluest Sotheby's agent for years. Like I always joked, cut my wrist open, it's gonna bleed blue. I truly believed, and I trained hundreds, if not thousands, of agents because that was the main part of my job there, that the brand was everything. Lead with the brand, lead with the brand, lead with the brand, like that's what I trained. And I truly did believe that. And I think what's happened, Jesse, is if you've been in real estate more than, say, 10 years, I think the luxury heritage brand names mattered more 10, 15, 20 years ago.
yep,
Before social media, before blogging, before even Instagram, before YouTube, there was a time like that. And real estate was much more, a bricks and mortar thing. People would come into the office. That was important. Agents really didn't have any way to be on the internet. They could brand themselves through postcards, but that was kind of about it. And so that luxury legacy model that worked, of course, as it did with any luxury or non-luxury, that legacy model worked. The bricks and mortar office, the brand first. With the advent of just the internet in general, and some of your viewers probably have never even lived as an adult before this, but this is really around 2006, 7, 8. is kind of when things changed for real estate in general. Blogging really started to become a thing. YouTube became a thing not too long after. There was Facebook and Instagram and all these different things where we really could brand ourselves. But the real estate industry as a whole hasn't fully understood that it really is agent first. And the
Mhm.
platform that you're on is really the brokerage. That's the platform, but you are now the star and using all the tools that the brokerage provides you and the all the different things the brokerage provides you to empower you to be the star is the thing. So that's a big kind of thing. I think it's not a misunderstanding. It's just things have changed. Things have changed. And I think we realized a lot also during COVID too. That put fuel on the fire because a lot of us didn't go to the office for that whole time. And we realized, oh my gosh, like my business, I'm more productive because I'm not going in the office and chit-chatting at the water cooler all the time or whatever. And then there was a second part of your question. I don't remember what it was.
Oh, it was what what do what is something agents think matter but actually doesn't, but we were saying for luxury specific agents and then also just residential real estate agents.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of it is the brand matters to your clients a lot less than you realize. It's more about you. And that's also with eXp, because like you said earlier, you're like, well, what do you say to people who say, oh, eXp isn't a luxury brand? We have very, very successful luxury agents here selling extremely well because it is truly at the end of the day, it is about them. And I found that out again when I went from Sotheby's to Compass and then Compass to eXp. I found it's about how I brand myself. To prove my point, you can have an agent at Compass, Sotheby's, Berkshire Hathaway, or whatever, not be a great agent and go on a listing appointment. They're probably not going to get the listing because they just don't know how to present themselves with the confidence, the experience, the background. You can also have an agent at a mom and pop boutique, you know, go on a listing appointment, but that person has their presentation nailed, everything looks beautiful, the marketing plan they have is amazing. They're going to get the listing. So it's much more on us, our confidence, what we offer, how we communicate, how we solve their problems. The brokerage is really the platform and the tools that we use.
Yeah, and I would say like the only brokerage I've ever been at where like the branding actually was a hindrance to my business, which I didn't even realize this until I left, was a KW. Is
Mm.
after I left, I was like my price point tripled, and I was like, okay, that was the Honda Civic of the real estate business, but and it was so weird. Uh, there was a lot of layers to that story too, but we don't need to get into it today. Um, what is a strategy that is working right now that most agents are not using? Because I know, like, actually, you said something that's really interesting to me is like 15 years ago, it mattered. And then we had this evolution of video, social media. People find real estate so different. So, what do you think is something that's working right now that people aren't using that or is probably going to keep them in the past and they're not evolving?
It's funny. So, what strategy I'm going to tell you might surprise you. I am a huge, huge, huge proponent of mailing to expireds.
Okay.
When I moved from Miami to Northeast Florida 10 years ago, I didn't know a soul. I had a very big dream to get into the top 10 within 3 years, top 10 in my MLS. And I did it in 2 years by mailing expireds. And I don't mean mass mailing, I mean one-off postcards and letters, packages, hand addressed, notes, everything like that. I even teach and train on that. But what I found in this last year, as AI has blown up, we can agree it's blown up to the point where even in the last few months, you don't even have any clue if anything you look on at online is real. You know, so many videos we see, we don't know if it's real. We don't know if something is written real or not. And that's starting to become like a little bit of noise, right? Meaning you just swipe the minute for me that if I'm looking at, say, scrolling, the minute something feels like AI, even if I have a doubt, I just don't want that. I use AI all the time. Don't get me wrong. I love it. But we're starting to lose the authenticity and the connection and the realness of us, which is again what makes us stand out. And so that's why going back to handwritten or individualized pieces of content that's reaching people that feels like it is from a real person, not just fast scrolling AI type media, is becoming more and more important because people are wanting connection with real people, with real experts, because there is a fear that you're falling down in anything. You're falling into this like funnel or this rabbit hole of just AI created whatever. And you're like, I don't even like, it's a very weird time we're in right now. And I think some agents are starting to fall down a path. And I don't mean using AI for productivity. I'm all for that. But don't let it take over your content to the point where you're losing your uniqueness. I'm all about the category of one agent. Like I'm actually having a summit in a few weeks called the category of one agent, how to make you stand out as the no-brainer, go-to, must-have agent because of your authenticity, your skill, your expertise, and who you are unique to you, and nobody else can fill your shoes. So it's probably a different answer than you expected, but I think it is important for agents not to go too far down that train that they lose themselves.
How does an agent stand out in a red ocean?
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So, like I said, I'm all about the category of one agent. I am a huge proponent of agents creating some kind of niche because if we try to be a generalist, and it's probably not the best analogy, but it is the best analogy I've come up with, so I use it all the time. If I created a murder, let's just say I did, I'm not going to hire a generalist attorney. I'm going to go find the very best defense attorney to protect me. That's that attorney's niche. And I'm not going to try to beat them up on their rate. I'm not going to try to beat them up because it's a high stakes case, right?
Yep.
Selling someone's home is a high stakes case. It is normally and often, even with luxury, one of their biggest assets. And it can make the difference of what are they going to do in the next chapter of their lives or not do, because does it get sold? Does it not get sold? Does it get sold for the highest price the market will bear, et cetera, et cetera. So when we try to be a generalist, even as a luxury agent or even as a regular price agent, if we try to be a generalist and serve every kind of client, every area, every price point, we become what is that? A jack of all trades, a master of none. Whereas if we embrace a niche, we start to become the category of one. For me, I specialize in historic properties and equestrian properties. I do a little bit of waterfront properties, but equestrian historic, my main thing. There's other luxury properties in my area that are not historic, not equestrian, but they're not really my strong suit. And I'm not going to be as strong going on those types of listing appointments. But I own that space, right? So when you become niched into something, it doesn't mean that's all you sell because you're still going to get opportunities no matter what through referrals and friends and second properties that people own. But it just cuts through all the other agents. It cuts through the expertise and everything that you develop, the knowledge you develop, the relationships you build on that. It's much easier to get PR for you and your properties when you have some kind of specialized niche. There's just so much to that. And that is going to be the thing that really protects us from the settlement that we had, last year, protects us from AI, is really making yourself a category of one agent. Like you said, a blue ocean agent versus a red ocean agent.
Gotcha. What is something you wish somebody would have told you 5 years ago, or something that you wish you would have told yourself 5 years ago?
Hmm. Well, I mean, this is talking about co-sponsorship, so I can talk about it because I normally don't talk about agent attraction or sponsorship. I wish I would have jumped on more seriously looking at agent attraction and sponsorship with intent um, as soon as I came over to eXp.
And why is that?
Or when I knew I was coming, because I knew 5 years ago exactly I was coming.
And why is that?
Oh my gosh, I'd probably be retired by now, like for real, because I'm halfway there now. It takes a little bit of time to understand what works for agent attraction for you personally. And if you keep putting off even delving into that because you're like, oh, I need to sell stuff, I need to figure out this company, I need to do all that, you're also putting off your own understanding of your unique category of one agent attraction. Um, Building the relationships, planting the seeds. A lot of times with people moving to eXp, it takes sometimes months, years before the timing is right for them. So you need to be kind of planting those seeds all along the way, sharpening your own education and understanding of what works for you, what's your value proposition, how are you a category of one agent attractor? I wish I would have really, really, really focused on that as soon as I knew I was going to eXp. I would have had 6 months head start before I even moved.
So I hear a lot of, actually, I was just speaking with a team owner yesterday, and he was like, I don't even want to talk about like the downline. I'm allergic to the downline conversation, revenue share. The thing that's most interesting to me is even like you saying, like, I would have told myself this 5 years ago. Why do people have that outlook before they come? And then like, does it completely change?
Yeah. That's a wild conversation, and that's a good question. And I'll tell you why I think it is. For somebody who hasn't been in ownership or leadership at a brokerage,
Mm.
they don't understand all that money that we pay through revenue share to our seven downlines. All that money exists in other brokerages too. It's just flipped, meaning right now we have, seven tiers down, people are getting paid at a regular brokerage, let's take a franchise model like a Sotheby's, it's flipped. So that money is still coming out of the split that those agents are paying their brokerage. It's just filtering up. First, it's paying the manager at their local office. Then maybe it's paying the GM who maybe manages several offices. Then it's paying the franchise owner of those franchises. Then there's a couple tiers, like at a Sotheby's, there's a couple like regional tiers who had helped bring that Sotheby's to the corporate Sotheby's, that they're getting an override out of that as well. Then it goes up to, Sotheby's corporate, then it goes to anywhere. So that whole amount of money is still exactly the same being distributed, but it's being distributed up. But we have been um, conditioned to hear words or hear concepts, not fully look into it and not understand. So we hear words, oh, that's a pyramid scheme, or that's MLM and MLMs are bad, or that's all these things, not really realizing that same money, that same exact money is still being redistributed in any other brokerage. It's just going up versus down. eXp decided, well, instead of having a lot of offices and a lot of expense with management and things like that, what if we made it cloud-based so we don't have that expense? What if we cap it at a relatively low cap? We only need this amount to operate and have healthy enough margins to stay in business, but then take that same money and instead of going up to a manager, a general manager, a franchise owner, go down to the agents who then become in a way kind of still the same. We're here to support each other. We're here to plug in. So we are the same way incentivized to, when I was the executive VP at eXp, I mean, at Sotheby's, I had to recruit. That was part of my job. I had to train. That was part of my job. I had to help agents improve. That was part of my job. So now we're just distributing it differently, but people don't understand that. So that's one. And then two, I find it bizarre that you will, as an agent, go out, go to a listing appointment to a person you've never met and try to convince them and beg, often beg yourself to get in that position to try to convince them you're the best person to sell their house ever, to make sure that they're the most profitable with their sale. But then you wouldn't talk to a fellow agent about an opportunity, a financial opportunity. Let's take rev share off the table. Just the better situation we have with splits and icon and caps and training and everything and stock. Even if you don't do rev share, EXP is still financially a so much better model, but we're nervous to talk to our friends about that. I
Yep.
find that kind of bizarre because they don't want to be seen as selling Avon or something, right?
Yeah, and I love the fact that you said that. I wrote that down. Like they're not thinking about, or they haven't had been in a position of ownership or leadership, because so that almost might just be like saying like you're thinking too small, right? Or like you're maybe you haven't like actually taken that next step. And like so when you talk about like breaking through levels of your business, and you've coached with like Lars and what was the other lady's name?
Stacy,
Jenny? Stacy?
Stacy
Stacy,
Peters.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, I had Lars on this show too. Um, the thing is like we all know you have to break through that next level. So like eventually one day you're gonna hit that level. And like I've always said, my business went from like 10 million to my first year here at eXp to 50 million. And and it wasn't that I was doing anything wrong. You know what it did is we removed all the friction points and the barriers,
Yeah.
and I was licensed in multiple states. So I wasn't dealing with all of those interruptions or speed bumps that were holding me back.
Yeah.
And then I saw like accelerated growth. So, oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's also, unfortunately, especially if it was 5 or 10 years ago, people were probably approached by somebody at eXp that might not have been a good fit for them. They didn't feel they knew that person that well or something like that, and just maybe set a tone that they didn't like. I think that's changed. I don't think that exists quite so much because we've really kind of had a glow up and a grow up over the last, 5 plus years, that we are a very different brokerage. And then people also, because they might have had that first experience at some point, they think that that's what everybody does. And they don't realize that only 10 or 15% of the agents at eXp even do any level of attraction, and they don't often realize that we are a huge producing brokerage. What, number one in size and number three in volume nationwide. We're very productive on a per agent basis. So people don't realize that most agents who come to eXp do not do any kind of attraction or any kind of growth like that. They just really lean into our financial model, our tools, our training, and blow up their own production, like you're saying. And a small group of people do attraction. If that's your thing, great. If you love it, great. We're all here. That's why Jesse and I are here.
Yep.
If it's not, that nobody is pressuring you to do it at all. Just use all the tools, the training, everything to sell more houses, sell higher price houses, sell, more houses at a better percentage, whatever it is that you want. We have training and tools to help you achieve that.
Exactly. So obviously you run your own coaching program, you're a team leader, you've helped start, create, and found all these groups, which is amazing. Like, what is your approach to leadership and mentorship?
Um, I don't know the right approach or the right word for it. I would say I am a vision caster and a future caster. I normally am the one, and Tina Cole, my fellow luxury council member, she knows all the names of these personality types. I'm not good with that, but I think I'm more about vision casting and kind of that future vision and how do we put that together. And I'm not a micromanager at all, probably to my detriment. Um, because I'm not all over anybody. I am a hands-off. That's why I got out of traditional team leadership, as I've said. That's not my skill set. Like that's not me. I see the greatness in every individual person. I help them see that, but I expect them to then act on that and pull that out of themselves. So I help them see that. I'll give them the tools to get there, but then I expect they're going to do it themselves. I'm not a hand holder. I'm not um, one of these, helicopter mom type team leaders or leaders. I'm more hey, here's what's possible. Let's go do it, you know, kind of thing. So I don't know what the right term for that is, Jesse.
No, I love that answer. What is if someone joined your group today, since you mentioned tools, what tools or training do they get access to?
If they join like my downline or
Yep.
if they join Gorgeous, okay. If they join my downline, we have a whole suite I have a full-time really amazing brand strategist who's full-time with me for all my businesses and all my things. She's helped us create a whole suite of amazing, excuse me, Canva templates, tools, everything. So somebody can just plug and play because you get Canva for free at eXp. So you look different than the regular eXp agent, which already everything is beautiful, but you have your own flavor and flair as well. And then, of course, anybody who joins me in my organization, either through sponsorship or co-sponsorship, gets access to my luxury training, the elevated expireds, male-based expireds, no call luxury expireds is a main component of that. But I have training on pricing, I have training on niches, I have training on how to get good PR for you and your listings um, under my luxury accelerator brand. Um, and then I am a very good problem solver. So while I'm not a hold your hand type of leader, I am always available when agents run into problems solving issues, high level problems that they don't see a way out. And I think because of my years at Sotheby's, and I don't know if you've ever dealt with any South Beach luxury agents. They are the cream of the crop for diva type agents and the buyers and sellers. So I was housed in our South Beach office. So I had to put out a lot of fires for a lot of high personalities, both on the agent side, the opposing agent side, the buyers and sellers. So I feel like I got like 20 years of experience out of those 4 years. So I can normally solve or come up with creative solutions
Mm,
for any difficult, and that's what I enjoy. I enjoy that a lot. I just got a text today from an agent who thought a deal was dying yesterday, and now she just told me she's in contract. She already flipped the other buyer out, is in contract with a cash buyer, solved another problem earlier this week. So a lot of that high level um, problem solving, problem thinking. I like to say I help create real estate magic. Like when you think it can't happen, we pull something out of the hat.
nice. What type of agent thrives in your guys' organization?
Yeah. The agent that thrives the most with me personally is a mid-level career or seasoned agent who's already a very, very strong agent. They might be a team leader, they might be a solo agent, they might be an indie owner broker, but they already have their thing going. They're just looking for ease. They're looking for a little support. They want to come on board because they love everything eXp has to offer. And then they love having the opportunity, like I said, to have all this additional branding, additional training available for themselves, their team members, their own downline for attraction purposes. And then that support, helping solve problems. So normally newer agents, we have, of course we all have a good number of newer agents, but we really encourage them to plug into everything eXp has to offer in their local boards and things like that. I kind of think of myself as like a real estate, 201, 301, 401 level of support, training, education.
Yep, that makes sense. Do you have a story of someone that's joined your organization and has had great success?
I'll tell you a funny story, um, because it's right at the very recent. There was an existing eXp agent that was already at eXp. She joined eXp in the state of Florida with somebody, didn't newer agent, didn't fully even understand the person she was joining was she was going to be on their team, but they ended up being like one of those high level teams that expect you to make 100 calls a day, stuff like that. She's a very seasoned professional in her own right outside of real estate, and that just was not a good fit for her. She ended up joining Gorgeous Florida Homes Network, which is again similar to joining my organization. She took my elevated expireds course. One of her very first listings out of the gate was at a luxury listing, um, very close to the coast in Florida. She just closed on that. And I mean, she's a great person, don't get me wrong, but I don't think without the branding, the training, the structure, would she have had one of her very first listings that, she 95% of, 98% of totally handled on her own with our tools and training, listed it, negotiated it, and closed it all within, less than a year of joining us. So, uh,
Congrats.
yeah, yeah. So that's a perfect example of just finding the right group of people to plug into, join with, and everything like that.
Where are you taking your organization and business over like the next 12 to 24 months?
12 to 24 months. Like I said, I'm probably halfway to the point where I have enough passive income from attraction to really focus on that. My goal definitely before 24 months would be able to reach the point where I have enough, and not that it's truly passive, don't get me wrong, you still nurture and support and everything, but I would like to really be able to focus on that more, going on road shows to do training to outside agents, help outside agents have training, help support eXp agents in local locations, bring their own prospects to trainings to be potential co-sponsorship partners together, and just really get out on the road, share the story about eXp Luxury, share the story about eXp Land and Ranch, work with fellow existing eXp agents, work with agents who see a whole different world of eXp than they kind of thought, and just get out there and bang the drum and help people, find this amazing opportunity that it's so refreshing and different than if you're at a legacy brokerage. It is so refreshing, and it is so different from the concept of what most people think eXp is. I've had several Sotheby's agents come over in the last few months, top tier Sotheby's agents too. Without a doubt, the number one thing they say when they get here is, oh my gosh, like, whew, you know, I don't have a manager breathing down my neck anymore. I don't have somebody telling me what I can and can't do. Everything is available. Everything is here. It's so easy. Oh my gosh, I have so much more money in my pocket. Oh my gosh, I just iconed, whatever. It is so different. And once they get here, they're like blown away. So just trying to get that message out to more people and partner with existing eXp agents to help support them and their attraction growth. I have the Luxury Agent Attraction Academy within Slack, where I do a monthly training on luxury and land and ranch attraction for eXp agents. I think just like you doing this podcast, a rising tide floats all boats. So if we can just share and work with other eXp agents and those who are swimming to us, they're interested in what eXp has to offer. I think we can all rise up together. And I'm just super excited and looking forward to the future.
Absolutely. So if an agent wants to learn more about you, where should they go?
I think the easiest place to start would we'll probably just go to my Instagram, which is at Janie C, at Janie C. Connect with me there, and from there I can plug you into the if you're an eXp agent, I can plug you into Luxury Agent Attraction Academy, which is totally free. If you're an agent looking for courses on coaching and training for my outside, I can plug you into that. If you're looking to possibly join me at Gorgeous Florida Homes Network, whether you're an agent already at eXp or not, I can help plug you into that. I really do what I call like a future shared visioning conversation to find out what's the right fit for what each agent is looking for next in their career in real estate, because having a license in real estate kind of opens up all the opportunities for us. It's just finding the right fits for us, right?
Exactly. Well, I really appreciate this conversation, and I hope the audience got a lot of good value out of it. Thank you so much for coming on today, and I'm sure we will co-sponsor somebody into eXp here soon.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. It's great being on your show, and say hi to all your listeners.
Will do. Thank you.